In this video, I'm going to be walking you through one of my absolute favorite cookie designs for holiday time, and that is the Gingerbread Snowflake. This cookie is deceivingly simple, but requires only one icing, and that's white outline consistency icing. And then we're going to be using some sanding sugar at the end. So if you have some of that on hand, that would be great to grab. We're just going to be using white. So first things first, what is outline consistency icing? You may have heard tips and tricks out there asking you to count seconds of when your icing falls into itself, but I would rather actually take you into your bathroom and have you pull out your toothpaste and actually bring it into your kitchen with you. Pipe out some of that toothpaste onto a clean paper towel and compare it to the consistency of your icing. So outline consistency icing should maintain its shape, but it should be slightly wet. So we don't want an icing that is too thick, more like a stiff consistency or an icing that you would use for floral work, because that can be difficult to work with. It can cause a lot of pressure on the hand, and it can actually not really adhere to the base of your cookie. So particularly when we're working with a design like this where we're simply piping onto a bare cookie, we want to make sure our consistency is a little bit wet. That way that icing does actually adhere to the base of the cookie. So as you can see, I'm just piping lines basically all over this cookie. If you are a complete beginner that has never piped lines with outline consistency royal icing, I would recommend that you maybe do some practice on a piece of parchment paper or a paper towel and just feel the pressure of the bag in your hand. When you start your line, you're actually going to start it slightly above the surface of the cookie. So what happens when we start the line with our piping tip touching the cookie is that oftentimes the pressure of the bag causes the icing to bubble at the end. So you might have a straight line, but then you have that bubble at the end. Same goes for when you're ending the line. When you're ending the line, you want to guide that line across the cookie. You want to apply constant pressure, and then you want to release the pressure from your bag and then lay the line down. So the icing should be off the surface of the cookie when you're piping a line. It shouldn't be, I'm going to try to hold my hand as straight as possible. No one can physically do that over and over again, especially if you're me and you've had too much coffee in the morning. I actually really liked the way that this cookie looked before I started piping the dots at the end, but I wanted to show you an option for if you're not as skilled at getting those perfect lines without the bubble at the end. You can simply just cover it up by adding a little dot of icing on there, and then it actually looks really decorative and really pretty. So this is completely optional, and just have fun with these designs. No two snowflakes are the same, so we're trying to show a variation of designs, but you should really, feel free to get lost in this process. If you wanted to add dots or more lines or less lines than I did, they're all beautiful. And the great thing about cookie decorating is that if you don't love the outcome, you can either just scrape the icing off or grab an extra cookie and try again. This is one of those designs that, obviously take your time while you're piping, but I don't want you to sit down and then walk away and come back to it, because we want the icing to still be slightly wet while we sprinkle that white sanding sugar on top, because we want the sugar to adhere a little bit, and it will actually adhere to the base of the cookie as well, but having the icing still be a little bit wet helps it to stay on the cookie and not just completely fall off. So I hope this inspires you to create these beautiful snowflake cookies of your own, and they are extremely tasty cookies. I personally love them because they don't have too much icing, they're not too sweet, and they are so festive. I also used the Ann Clark rollout gingerbread recipe, and it is delicious. I rolled mine to 3/8 inch. I have a rolling pin that has measuring rings on it, which I love using for all of my cookies, sugar cookies, and any type of rollout cookie, but They are moist and tasty and gingery and just remind me of the holidays. So I hope you enjoy them and let me know how it goes.